In March 2026, scientists announced they had found all 5 building blocks of DNA and RNA inside an asteroid, not near one. Inside one. A rock that formed before this planet existed, that has never been anywhere near a living organism, contained the complete molecular alphabet of life, which raises a question nobody is quite comfortable asking out loud. If the molecules that make you alive arrived here from space, does that make you an alien? In 2014, Japan launched a spacecraft called Hayabusa 2 toward a small dark asteroid called Ryugu, roughly 300 million kilometers from Earth. 6 years later, it came back. Inside the sample capsule, 5.4 grams of asteroid material, the most uncontaminated primitive extraterrestrial substance ever analyzed on Earth, scientists found amino acids. 20 different types of them, including proteinogenic amino acids, the specific building blocks that living things on Earth use to construct proteins, regulate chemical reactions, and build the structures of every organism that has ever lived on this planet. Then, in March 2026, a team at Jamstech and Tohoku University published their analysis in Nature Astronomy. The same Ryugu samples contained all 5 nucleobases: adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and uracil, the complete set of information-carrying molecules that make up DNA and RNA, every letter in the molecular alphabet of life, found in a rock that formed 4.5 billion years ago in the early solar system, long before Earth existed, long before anything alive had ever touched it. The building blocks of every living thing that has ever existed on this planet were drifting through space before there was a planet to land on. This is the scientific heart of panspermia, the hypothesis that the raw materials of life, or possibly life itself, arrived on Earth from space. And it is not fringe science, not conspiracy theory, not ancient alien mythology. It is a legitimate, peer-reviewed, actively researched scientific hypothesis with a growing body of physical evidence taken seriously by researchers at NASA, JAXA, and universities across the world. The question it raises is genuinely strange. If the molecular building blocks of life on Earth arrived from space, if amino acids and nucleobases rained down on the early Earth via asteroids and comets over hundreds of millions of years, does that make life on Earth extraterrestrial? And if life on Earth is extraterrestrial in origin, does that make humans, in some meaningful sense, aliens? The answer depends entirely on where you draw the line, and drawing that line turns out to be more complicated than anyone expects. Let's start with what we actually know about how life began on Earth, because the honest answer is that we don't, fully, not yet. The Earth formed roughly 4.5 billion years ago, the oldest evidence of life on Earth. Microbial mats preserved in ancient rock formations in Western Australia dates to approximately 3.5 billion years ago, with some disputed chemical signatures suggesting life may have existed as far back as 4.1 billion years ago. That leaves a window of somewhere between 400 million and 1 billion years, during which life either arose on Earth from non-living chemistry or arrived here from somewhere else, or some combination of both. The arose on Earth scenario is the scientific mainstream. Abiogenesis, the emergence of self-replicating chemistry from the conditions of the early Earth. There is genuine, serious scientific research into this. Laboratory experiments have produced amino acids from inorganic compounds under conditions simulating the early Earth. RNA molecules that can catalyze their own replication have been created in lab settings. The broad outlines of how chemistry could have become biology are increasingly well understood, but nobody has yet produced a living cell from scratch. The step from complex organic chemistry to self-replicating, membrane-bound, metabolizing life is the hardest gap in the entire origin of life story, and it remains genuinely unsolved. Panspermia doesn't solve it either, and this is a crucial point that gets lost in popular coverage. If life or its precursors arrived from space, the question of how those precursors first became life just gets pushed one step back. Instead of asking how life arose on Earth, you're asking how life arose wherever the space travelers came from. The hypothesis doesn't eliminate the mystery of life's origin, it relocates it. What panspermia does do, and what the Ryugu evidence powerfully supports, is establish that the chemistry of life is not unique to Earth. Amino acids form in asteroids through simple chemical processes that don't require biology. Nucleobases form in the same way. These molecules are apparently common in the solar system, possibly throughout the universe, arising wherever carbon-rich chemistry meets water and heat. The ingredients are not rare or special to Earth. They're a natural product of the universe's chemistry, scattered across space on the surfaces and interiors of asteroids, delivered to planetary surfaces via impacts throughout the solar system's history. For the early Earth, which was being bombarded by asteroids and comets at a rate we can barely imagine, the delivery of these molecules was essentially continuous over hundreds of millions of years. Whatever chemistry was happening in the early oceans and tidal pools was being constantly supplemented with amino acids, nucleobases, and other organic molecules raining down from space. The origin of life on Earth, in this picture, was a collaboration between Earth's own chemistry and the organic cargo that space was continuously delivering. Which raises the question again, if you are made of molecules that formed in space and arrived on Earth before life existed, are you in some sense alien? In 2022, researchers studying the chirality of amino acids in the Ryugu samples found something important. Amino acids come in two mirror image forms, left-handed and right-handed, that are chemically identical but structurally opposite. All life on Earth uses exclusively left-handed amino acids. Not mostly, exclusively. If you find a right-handed amino acid in a living cell, something has gone wrong. The reason for this preference, why life settled on left-handed rather than right-handed, is one of the genuinely mysterious, unsolved questions in origin of life science. The amino acids in the Ryugu sample showed a slight excess of left-handed forms. Not a dramatic excess, but a statistically significant one. This matters because one hypothesis for why Earth life is exclusively left-handed is that it inherited this preference from the amino acids that arrived from space, that the slight left-handed excess in extraterrestrial organic material was amplified and locked in by early life as it developed, eventually becoming the universal, absolute preference for left-handed amino acids that all life on Earth shares today. If this is correct, then one of the most fundamental features of every living thing on Earth, the handedness of its amino acids, the orientation of its molecular building blocks, may have been set not by Earth chemistry, but by the chemistry of the solar system itself, imposed on early life via the asteroids that delivered the raw materials. You are not just made of stardust in the poetic sense. You may be left-handed because of an asteroid. Now let's take the strongest version of Panspermia seriously and see where it leads. The version proposed by British astronomers Fred Hoyle and Chandra Wickramasinghe, who argued not just that chemical precursors arrived from space, but that actual microorganisms could survive the journey between star systems and seed life across the galaxy. This is called lithopanspermia when applied to rocks and ejected planetary material, and directed panspermia when the suggestion is that life is intentionally spread by intelligent beings. The version proposed, somewhat controversially, by Francis Crick, the co-discoverer of the structure of DNA. Crick's argument for directed panspermia was uncomfortable even when he made it. He noted that the genetic code, the specific way DNA triplets map to amino acids, is essentially universal across all life on Earth. Every bacterium, every plant, every animal, every fungus uses the same code. This universality is exactly what you'd expect if all life descended from a single common ancestor. But it's also exactly what you'd expect if life on Earth was seeded from a single external source. Crick couldn't distinguish between the two possibilities and honestly acknowledged it. The scientific mainstream treats directed panspermia as speculative, which it is. There's no evidence of intentional seeding. The natural delivery of organic molecules and possibly microbial life via asteroids and comets requires no intelligence or intention. The physics and chemistry do the work. But Crick's discomfort with the apparent improbability of abiogenesis happening on Earth in the available time window led him toward a hypothesis that most of his contemporaries found too uncomfortable to take seriously. The Ryugu findings don't prove panspermia. They don't prove that life came from space. What they prove is that the chemistry of life is not exclusive to planets with life on them. The molecular alphabet of biology exists in rocks that have never been near a living organism. And the question of where life actually first crossed the threshold from chemistry to biology, whether on Earth or on some earlier, wetter world, or in the interiors of icy asteroids where liquid water and organic chemistry have coexisted for billions of years, is genuinely open. In 2023, scientists confirmed the presence of liquid water inside the asteroid Bennu, not frozen, liquid, kept liquid by the heat generated by radioactive decay inside the asteroid's interior. Organic chemistry in liquid water in the interior of a rock floating in space for billions of years without any planetary surface or atmosphere. The conditions for life to emerge are apparently not as rare or as exclusively planetary as the scientific consensus assumed even 10 years ago. The question of whether we are aliens is, at its core, a question about where you draw the circle of us. If us means Homo sapiens, we evolved on Earth from earlier hominins over millions of years in the context of a specific planetary environment. We are Earth creatures in every biological sense. But if us means the carbon-based molecular machinery of life itself, the amino acids, the nucleobases, the chirality preferences, the chemical logic of DNA and RNA, then significant parts of that machinery may have arrived from elsewhere, formed in the interiors of asteroids that predate this planet, delivered here by the physics of the early solar system. You didn't come from space, but the molecules that built your cells might have. And the question of where exactly the line between from Earth and from space falls is one that the Hayabusa 2 mission and the research it's still generating is in the process of moving. The universe has been doing chemistry for 13.8 billion years. Life on Earth has only been around for about 3.5 billion of them. The gap between those two numbers is full of asteroids carrying organic molecules, collisions delivering them to planetary surfaces, and a chemistry that doesn't seem to need a planet to get started. Whatever we are, we may be older than the planet we're standing on.